When we think of hunger, we usually think of empty plates, not of something inside the body, eating from within. But for hundreds of millions of people around the world, especially children, there is another kind of hunger. It comes from worms living in their intestines, quietly stealing blood and nutrients every day. These are intestinal worms, soul-transmitted helminths. They are not science fiction. They are some of the most common infections on Earth. And for the most part, they spread through something very ordinary: contaminated soil. The main culprits are three types of roundworms: Ascaris lumbricoides, often just called roundworm; Trichuris trichiura, known as whipworm; and the hookworms, mainly Necator americanus and Ancylostoma duodenale. All three live in the human intestines. All three release eggs that leave the body in feces. And in places where sanitation is poor, those eggs end up in the soil around homes, fields, and paths. From there, the cycle continues. Roundworms are large worms that can grow up to tens of centimeters in length inside the small intestine. They live among the partially digested food and can absorb nutrients meant for the host. Whipworms get their name from their shape: a thin, whip-like front end and a thicker back end. They anchor themselves into the wall of the large intestine, feeding on the tissue and causing irritation and inflammation. Hookworms have a different strategy. Their eggs hatch in warm, moist soil and release tiny larvae that can survive for weeks, waiting for a bare foot, hand, or other skin to touch the ground. When the opportunity comes, the larvae penetrate the skin. They enter the bloodstream, travel to the lungs, move up the airways, are swallowed, and finally reach the small intestine. There they mature into adult worms, attach to the intestinal wall with their mouths, and drink blood. The way people become infected reflects these life cycles. In many communities, there are no toilets or proper sewers. People defecate outdoors, in fields near homes or in ditches. Worm eggs in the stool contaminate the soil. Children play in that soil. Adults farm in it, walk through it, and grow food in it. Roundworm and whipworm eggs can stick to hands, vegetables, and other surfaces. If hands are not washed, or food is not properly cleaned or cooked, those eggs can be swallowed and begin the journey into a new host. Hookworm larvae take a different approach. They cannot infect people as eggs. They must hatch, grow for several days in the soil, and then wait as larvae that can penetrate skin. Walking barefoot on contaminated ground is a key risk. So is working without protective footwear in warm, humid climates where the larvae thrive. Once inside, what do these worms do to the body? Many infections are light. A person may carry a few worms and notice almost nothing. But as the number of worms increases, the damage grows. Roundworms can cause abdominal pain, nausea, and sometimes intestinal blockage if there are many worms crowded together. Whipworms can cause diarrhea, blood in the stool, and a condition called rectal prolapse in severe, long-standing infections. Hookworms quietly feed on blood. Each worm consumes only a small amount, but a heavy infection can lead to significant blood loss over time. The result is iron deficiency anemia, fatigue, weakness, and shortness of breath. In children, the impact is particularly serious. Worm infections can contribute to malnutrition, making it harder for children to grow properly. They can interfere with learning, as anemia and illness make it harder to concentrate in school. In communities where many children are infected, the effects ripple through education, productivity, and long-term opportunities. Soul-transmitted helminths are most common in warm, humid climates, especially in areas where poverty, limited sanitation, and limited access to clean water create ideal conditions for them to spread. The scale is enormous. The World Health Organization estimates that Hundreds of millions of children need regular treatment to control these infections and reduce their impact. Despite this, the infection often remains hidden. There is rarely a dramatic outbreak. Instead, worms quietly sap strength over years, in the background of daily life. There is, however, good news. These worms are treatable. Simple anti-worm medicines can reduce or clear infections, especially when given periodically to children in at-risk areas. Many countries run school-based deworming programs, where children receive tablets once or twice a year as a public health measure. Prevention, though, goes beyond tablets. Washing hands with soap after using the toilet and before handling food helps reduce the chance of swallowing eggs. Wearing shoes cuts down on hookworm larvae entering through the skin. Using toilets and latrines and improving sanitation in communities keeps human waste away from soil, fields, and water sources. Cooking food properly and washing fruits and vegetables that may have been grown in contaminated soil also reduces risk. These are ordinary actions, but together they can break the life cycle of worms that have evolved for thousands of years to live inside us. Intestinal worms might feel like a distant problem, limited to faraway places. Yet they remind us how strongly health is tied to environment, to soil, water, sanitation, and inequality. For some people, a pair of shoes, a clean toilet, and a simple tablet are the difference between quiet, invisible harm and a chance to grow, learn, and live with full strength. In the next episode, we'll zoom in even closer on one of these worms, hookworm, and follow its journey from the soil, through the skin, into the lungs, and finally to the gut, where it begins its silent feast.